Okay, it's April the 25th. Right now is 1:03 p.m. It's sunny, and I'm gonna just go see. The cluster seems to be in the same location, same position, same building, same roof, same spot. And today's sunny, but like I proved 2 days ago, in the rain and cloudy weather, the cluster is there no matter what, and it glows no matter what, and it's not a sun reflection at all. So let's go see. So there it is, same spot, and that's no sun reflection. As you can see, it's not the air conditioning unit. The air conditioning unit is on its right. Sorry, on my right. It's left. It's on the right hand side of the screen. That's the air conditioning unit, and it does not reflect sunlight. So this is the roof of a 20-story building, and that thing is right alongside the building, or maybe right over the roof of the building. I don't know exactly where it is today because I'm not right there, but it appears it's in the same exact spot as it was before. I don't see any human or humanoid shapes today around it, and I see nothing close by where anyone can walk out from. I see orbs on the right hand side, a whole line of them, and what they're doing is teleporting into the cluster, and then the cluster shoots them across and also down where that other orb is flashing below the cluster, just to the left of the cluster on the screen. Where it's flashing, that's a smaller cluster, and those orbs there in the line, they're smaller clusters as well. So they're all clusters of these organisms. They're not single orbs. They're all clusters, and they're all active clusters because they're glowing. There's one up in the left-hand corner, flashing once in a while. That's another cluster. That's also where that large cluster is sending the orbs. It's sending them down and up, and also across that building. You can see them moving there on the bottom, where it seems like it's a stream of them. Those are orbs, and they're not as active as the cluster because it's the cluster that provides them with the energy to move about. So they don't have to energize, but they can all energize. There's no difference between an orb and a cluster because every orb is a cluster. It's just a matter of which one is energized and which one is not energized. The reason I'm not going in very close is because I'm waiting for one of those large insects to pop in the screen, hopefully, so I can get it in broad daylight under sunny conditions, and maybe we can see the whole thing this time, because they are large insects. Some are huge, and we'll see if it's a hologram they're projecting, because these things can project good holograms, or if it's real, because I killed one of them that was real. That was the size of a sheet of paper, 8 by 11 inch. So I know they're real, but I want to catch a gigantic one to see how real that is. I know that these things project all the birds and seagulls and things like that I see, and I have pictures of all of them, and they're all made up of orbs, black and white orbs. So it's easier to see on a photo rather than on a video because it is a hologram, and it's hard to determine what's a hologram, what's not a hologram sometimes. And these things are producing the holograms as well as being it themselves. They're for real. So, because they make holograms so well, it's hard to see the difference between a hologram or a holographic image and the real thing. And you have to really pay attention and watch for a long time and watch very carefully to see what goes on, and that's how you determine if it's for real or if it's an image created holographically. I'm gonna go closer, maybe too close. There. Okay. And just watch it. See if an insect comes over it. I left some space on top. Maybe I can catch one. There's more of it than just the legs. Maybe I can catch wings and all. Trying to get that just at the bottom so that I can catch the insect when it flies by. Okay, obviously that's not a reflection because there's nothing that thing is attached to. That's suspended in midair over the building, and it is not a reflection of any sort. That's a glowing energy mass. It's a cluster of orbs, and I don't know how many orbs because that's very large, judging from the size of the building, but there's a whole lot of orbs in that cluster and moving very fast. They counterclockwise rotate around the nucleus point at very high speed, and a whole lot of them do that. So notice how many are in the air. You can barely see the building, and that's not because the camera is pixelating. Look, even when you move back, there's so many in the air that you can't even see the building, even on the clearest of days. That place is packed solid, and the entire air mass is just them. But they control electromagnetic energy very well, and when you go there, they play with your head so that you can't really see them. It takes getting used to it, and then you can see them. But normally they can just make you see whatever they want, and most people go there and don't notice anything. When I filmed it the other day, 2 days ago in the rain, it was zapping me with the electromagnetic pulses one after the other. That drains not just my camera, it drains me, and it takes all your energy out of you. So you're a basket case for the next day. That's how effective they are. Because what they do is drain energy from living things very well. They feed off of it. I'll just do a close-up to show that there's a red glow around it from all the disturbance of the air mass, even though it's mostly orbs in the air mass. There's so many of them that even when they rub against each other as they go by around the nucleus very fast, they create a glow, and because the ones in the nucleus are going faster, they create a white glow, and the ones farther away from the very center of the nucleus, they create a red glow. And and the ones on the outside in the larger cluster, that's the entire air mass, they just look like white milk, or a glass of white milk after you drank the milk. Okay, that's what it looks like. You can't see very clearly through them because there's so many in the air. Okay, so I'm gonna go see something else because there's no insects coming around that thing right now. I'm just gonna back off and check something else out. Okay, there's more clusters on top of that building. Or I should say alongside the top of that building, and there's some black clusters on top of the building. You can see that the fog of them is everywhere because there's so many in that air mass in that entire area. You just, no matter where you point the camera, you can't get through them. There's so many, so you have to back off to at least show them, because once the lens focuses on them, they distort the image, and it's not pixelation. This camera doesn't have much of that. It's a good camera. That's a fog created by them. Move it over. I took some still photos of those seagulls that always seem to be flying right in front of the picture. They're made out of orbs, most of them. You can see it on a photograph much better, that it's 4 orbs, 2 black, 2 white, making a seagull. It's not a seagull at all. I don't know what happened to the real seagulls, but they're gone. Okay, so I just want to see if this is a cluster right there. Yes, it is. Okay, so that's another large cluster right there. The camera is moving because I'm moving it. I'm trying to position it in the center. Okay, so that's another active cluster, and it's in between where there is a gap in the building, but it's right in the gap, so it doesn't look obvious, but that's an active cluster. And right above it, over here, there's black clusters, and they're teleporting, and you can see them moving along that right there on the right hand side. I don't know exactly what that is. It's just orbs in a line and across. Looks like a T-square. It's just made out of orbs. That's not a structure. So they're teleporting from that cluster on the bottom. You saw one, just big one, just show itself. That was another cluster, because the big cluster is made up of large clusters as well. So what they're doing is shooting the black orbs up and over, And it looks like it's a building structure, but it's not. It's just orbs. And you can see them moving. You see how they increase the fog right away? Because they don't want me to film it. These are smart things. They're not stupid. That's for sure. You can see the orbs on top there as well. On top of the building. And those are orbs. There's a large white cluster there next to them too. But there's black clusters right there. Hold on. Okay, right there. So there's a large white cluster and a large black cluster on the right of it. And the orbs are teleporting from the cluster down here on the bottom, going up. And that T-square kind of looking thing, that's just orbs. That's not real. I mean, it's really it's really all them. It's not a structure or a building or anything, or part of a building. That's just orbs during the teleporting. And you see how perfect they make the 90-degree angle? Now look how fast they're moving. You see how fast they're moving? Can anything we have move that fast and make a 90-degree turn? There's proof of it right there. That's a 90-degree turn. And there's no way anything we have can move so fast to make that turn at 90 degrees like that. And this shows a high degree of technology or natural ability, and it shows a high degree of intelligence to do all of this. The whole setup is really organized and highly intelligent. It's amazing just to watch what they do. Now there's all the clusters. There's the big white one on the right bottom, and then the orbs going into a 90-degree angle turn, and then across the top of the building where there's a white and a black cluster propelling them even more. There's a few other black clusters to the left of the orb, the white orb. There's one in front of it and two or three on the left side of it, looking at it on the screen, that is. It's to its right, and my left side on the screen. And you can see the clusters on the bottom. They're in the center of the screen below the roof. They're on the side of the building. They're propelling orbs as well. So this is like an entire setup, and it's all planned out very mathematically, very technically, very rationally. And this is not a chance coincidence, and these are not unintelligent organisms. They're highly intelligent, and the whole setup is immaculate. And it's amazing what they're doing. Okay, I want to go up here on this large building because they beam down on top of that square part on the roof, the very top, and there's all kinds of lights there at night, and it's not part of any airport light situation because the airport's far away from here, and it's not because that's a very tall building that it has lights to ward off planes. They would have one or two lights, but not 50 million of them like they do. So this is their airport, and first I want to go look at over here in those. There was first one orb here. Look, now there's two. Okay, so that's no air conditioning unit, like some people wrote in or commented. Okay, and there's two clusters there that are just suspended, attached to nothing. One is more active, the brighter one, the larger one is more active, and the other one is not as active, but it's about half the size of the larger one. Okay, what you can't see is that on the bottom here is another cluster that's less active than both of them. And look at all the fog and everything. Okay, and look at in the trees. You can see the organisms right on the branches. Okay, so I'm just going to back off and go over and see if there's anything on. Okay, this is a real heavy area. Even on the brightest day, you can never get a clear picture. I'm going to just back off a little bit. Now, those stacks and that entire area around them, it's full of these orbs. And this large tree, look, it's just packed. And you can make out the orb clusters even through the fog. You can see them. I'm just going to go over here to the top, see if I can get any of them moving. Okay, that's not me now shaking the camera. I moved it already and I'm not touching it. Okay, notice how there's a fluctuation in just the dimensional field. And it's really not a fluctuation. What it is just a mass of organisms in the air. It's like a wave. It's like looking through water. Looking through all of them is just like looking through water. They deflect and diffract the light, the natural light. And that's why the picture seems blurry, and that's why the picture seems to shake. Because there's waves and waves and waves of them in layers going past that area, around and around and around. Because the entire area, that entire area there, that's called Humber Bay, is a large cluster. It's covered by a large cluster. So the entire area in this whole location is moving counterclockwise around the nucleus point. And all those large glowing clusters, they're helping the mass move along. So they create their own weather system, their own everything. They do whatever they like there because they have full control. Okay, I was hoping I could see the orbs coming down from the sky right there, because what they're doing is teleporting onto that roof, but they've made sure I can't see them because they've masked a lot of orbs in front so that I can't penetrate. And you can see that the whole thing is covered in fog. So what the orbs are doing there is coming from the sky and into that large set of clusters there that's alongside of the building near the top. And there's other clusters down here. Okay, those are black orb clusters right there. And then there's white ones on the bottom of them. So the white and the black clusters work together. I don't know if that sets them apart as active and inactive, or less active, or if it has anything to do with gender of these organisms, or I don't know what. Maybe just a class structure, but they're different. The white are different from the black, but they work all together. So they're siphoning orbs, could be from the air mass above the building, or it could be from space. They could be teleporting from space, because I've taken video of these things on the what appears to be the moon, but it's really a moon hologram made up of all of them. The whole thing is made up of all of them. The moon exploded in 2009. I have that on video, and there is no more. Okay, I took 8 videos in 2009 showing those explosions, and they're on my channel in case you're interested. And it was December 2009. Okay, so I'm gonna just one more look over here to see the operation, because I'm used to it. I can tell even through the fog what's going on. But this is not the camera. This is not my camera. It's not a camera problem. It's just them, and there's too many of them. There's so many of them that you can't see anything. You can't see through them. So that's they come from the sky onto that building. That's their airport, or beam down deck, I should say. And then they spread the orbs around the entire area, into the water, on the ground, and in the air surrounding that area. And you can tell that the whole thing looks like it's in fog. You don't have to be a scientist to tell that the whole thing looks like it's in fog. And this is the Humber River Bridge, or the Humber Bay Bridge. This is a pedestrian bridge. There is no lights on it or anything. And this paint is also non-light reflective. It's very bright and sunny now, and it's not reflecting any light. The only time that bridge glows is when there's a lot of teleportation going on at high velocity over the girders and along the entire structure. You can see the fog. I'm just going down the power line to see what's going on. And there. Just bring that up. Okay. So there's the power line. There's the cluster. It's not on the tree, it's above the tree. That entire tree is just them. It only looks green because they can make themselves look any color. And like anything, they shape shift. The entire tree is them. And you can see that it's right next to the power lines. And you can see that active cluster. And what that cluster is doing is propelling orbs that are teleporting down that power line, because they use them like a highway, every power line. And you can see it in operation right now. So the entire cluster turns like a wheel, counterclockwise, and the orbs enter it and leave on the other side. They get shot out. They can get shot out, you know, just to the left of it or in any direction, because the way the cluster spins, it spins 360 by 360 by 360 at a very high rate, because the orbs inside the cluster are spinning all different directions. And that's the reason why it glows and it's very active. So basically speaking, the cluster can shoot the orbs anywhere it wants to, and what it does is it shoots them where it needs them, and it can shoot them out a long distance away from that area. It can shoot them on the other side of the city, or even farther than that. So they have two types of teleportation. They have normal teleportation, where you see them here and then there and, you know, somewhere else, and you don't see how they got there. Or they have local teleportation, where you can actually film it with a camera, or parts of it with a camera, where they travel. You can see them traveling at a very fast speed, but nonetheless traveling. You see that one fly by? That's no seagull. There's another orb cluster, and they're all over the place. And like I said, I see them without a camera. I didn't have a camera when I first saw them. I went and bought all these cameras just because I was seeing them all over. Otherwise, I would have never even owned the camera. It's an expensive proposition because they blew up 2 of them already. They're very good at destroying electronic devices or equipment. They can control computers, cameras, anything, and they can even blow them up if they wanted. So maybe they gave up on me because I went and bought even more cameras. And it takes too much energy to blow them all up. So now I get to film, but they make a fog, so I can't see anything. It's sort of a working deal, I guess. I don't like it very much, but I have no choice. I can only film where I can. And there it is, a cluster in operation. That may look small, but it's not that small because you can only see the pinpoint where the nucleus is. That's the most active. In reality, that cluster, I'll show you how big that is. That cluster is where the lake is, and that entire area between the other side where the buildings are to the electrical wires and past them toward me, and up higher and lower to the ground. That's the size of that cluster, but only the nucleus will glow, the very nucleus. But the entire air mass filled with orbs around that cluster is moving counterclockwise at such a high velocity that they create a fog because there's so many of them, but they move too fast to see. And that's the way it works. Whenever the cluster vanishes, that means it's slowed down. The frequency and the revolutions frequency has slowed down. And then when it picks up, it glows even more. So I'm just gonna, you'll see orbs going down the power line. I have it in a good spot. You can see that it's working very hard, that nucleus. And that's where all the action is. And they churn and churn all those orbs and power them up. And what they're doing is sucking electricity or electromagnetic field energy from the wires. They do both very well. And then they use that energy to propel the orbs. And you can see the wire glowing. That means it's under strain. Okay, the electrical cable there, the power line, you can see a glow on it. And that means it's really at its maximum. And they're drawing electricity from the power plant through the electrical cables or power lines for their own use. And you can see the cables are glowing. They're under such high stress. There's so much current that's being drawn out. Okay, and this is not what the wires were made for. And it's very dangerous what they're doing. This could start fires and everything. And if that line goes, it's going to hit homes in the bottom and everything else, and just set a lot of places on fire. Because if they put too much tension in that cable, power cable, it's going to snap. Or have a burnout. It'll burn out in one spot, and then it'll just shoot off because it's at high tension, and whatever it touches is going to be burnt to a crisp or electrocuted. Okay, so I think you've seen that orb enough. Sorry, the orb cluster enough. Now there's more all along here. They're on the bottom of the cable. Okay, so I'll show these because they show up more. Okay, so those clusters are doing the same job as that one on top of the power cable. They do exactly the same thing. There's just more of them. So they have it all set up, and they change the setup. And the setup isn't the same every day. They change it around to how they need it, and then that's basically how it works. All those things that look like seagulls, they're orbs. There's not one seagull there. They're all orbs, and they're holographic images of seagulls. If you see a very fast black thing go by, that's a large insect. There's one right there. Those are very large black insects. There's lots of them too. Alright. I'm pretty sure that's what these things are. They're insectoid type alien entities, and they're from a different dimension than ours, and they're also not from Earth. So they're all kinds of things. They're extraterrestrial as well as interdimensional. And they've come a long way to be here. And they didn't come for fun. They saw a good place to get food, resources, all kinds of things they need, and they're going to just take it. And they're propagating on this planet. They're breeding more and more of themselves. And when they feel like they have enough numbers, they're just going to not hide anymore. They're not going to be hiding forever. And they're going to show themselves and do what they want to do. Take whatever they want. Okay, that's what that looks like. There's the orb on the left on top, and a bunch of clusters on the bottom in the center. Okay. So I'm going to turn this off and make another